we are Group 9, and the title of our study is the study of the changes in perceived stress levels among accountancy students in a modular term and a non-modular term. So, the group is consisted of Carlo Gomez, Mario Gutierrez, Miguel Santos, and yours truly, Philip Ortal. So, for the background of the study, as accountancy students ourselves, we have noticed that students under the modular term experience heavy amounts of stress, which may negatively affect our own study habits and the outcomes of our grades. And we have studied a lot of related theories regarding to stress and to how it will affect their academic performance. So first of all, the formal link of our study to business is as a feedback to the accountancy department to assess whether the modular term is the most effective program to make the students better in accounting. So,
this is confined only to DLSU students, right?
Yes, we will have limitations. So for the objectives of the study, number one, to identify the different perceived level of stress among the accountancy majors in DLSU Manila, specifically those who underwent the modular program. And number two, to provide a cross-sectional analysis of the changes of the different levels of stress. So there are three categories within the modular term. There are three variables we will take into effect. So the first one will be the modular term and the non-modular term. And the type of module, which means the module 1 and the module 2, and the gender, which is male and female. So for the statement of the problem, so this is rated based on our hypothesis. So number one, how different is the change in the perceived stress level between the modular term students and the non-modular term students? So for the second, how different is the change in the perceived stress level between the students enrolled in Module 1 and the students enrolled in Module 2. So, third one, how different is the change in the perceived stress level of the male and female students within the Module 1 term. The fourth one, how different is the change in the perceived stress level between male and female students in Module 2. And the fifth, how different is the change in perceived stress level between the male and female students enrolled in a non-modular term. So we have 5 hypotheses, which is also based on the statement of our problem. So the first one, we will compare the mean change in perceived stress level of the modular term students as against the mean change of the perceived stress level of the non-modular term students. So the null form states that there is no significant difference, while the alternative form states that there is significant difference. So, for the second hypothesis, we are comparing the mean change in the perceived stress level of Module 1 students as against the mean change in perceived stress level of Module 2 students. So the null form states that there is no significant difference, and the alternative form states that there is a significant difference. So for the third hypothesis, we are comparing the mean change in perceived stress level of the male Module 1 students as against the mean change in perceived stress levels of the female Module 1 students. So the null form states that there is no significant difference, while the alternative form states that there is a significant difference. So the fourth hypothesis, we are comparing the mean change in perceived stress level of male students in the Module 2 and the mean change in perceived stress levels of female students in Module 2 also. So the null form states that there is no significant difference, while the alternative says that there is a significant difference. So our fifth hypothesis, we are comparing the mean change in perceived stress level of the male students in the non-modular term as against the female students in the non-modular term. So the null form states that there is no significant difference, while the alternative form states that there is a significant difference. So for our scope and limitations, we have 4. So number 1, the students. Only accountancy majors will be the respondents of the study. meaning they have to have already taken the qualifying exam. And the second one, the differences of the subjects within the modular term would not bear an effect, meaning the differences of the subjects in Module 1 and Module 2 will not give any effect to our study. And then the third one, the study makes use of cross-sectional data, which poses a threat to temporal validity. This primarily means that our study is a study within a certain period in time. So that is school year 2008-2009, term 1. And the fourth scope and limitations is also related to the temporal validity, which is the time of testing. So we are only allotted the first term of the school year 2008-2009 to conduct the study. So the significance of the study. There are 4 primary beneficiaries which will benefit from our study. So number 1, the BSA students of the school, the Accountancy department, the JPIA, DNSU, and the prospective students in the Accountancy program. These 4 beneficiaries will be later discussed with their recommendations. So moving on with the related theories. So we have found 3 theories that will primarily impact our study. So an overview, the first one will be the transaction model of stress, the learning curve theory, and the differences between men and women's perception of stress in academic setting. So transaction model of stress, this is by Lazarus and Folkman in 1984. So according to them, the individual's perception of stress is actually more important than the event itself. So this means that individually, stress is differently perceived. So for a certain activity, the perception of individual 1 is different with the perception of individual 2. Thus, the title of our study, the changes in perceived stress level. And for the learning curve theory, the improvement in activity or increase in productivity as observed, as experience accumulates over time. So what is learning? Learning is experience over time. So in our study, we are comparing Module 1 students and the Module 2 students, whether they have actually improved in the way they alleviate their stress or the way they handle their stress. So the third theory would be the differences between men and women's perception of stress in academic setting by Goldman and Wong in 1997. So basically what they said was the male students, their stress factors were more inclined to those achievement and performance factors, while the women, their stress factors were inclined to interpersonal and relationships. So generally, males perceive college with higher stress. So they perceive stress higher than women. So
moving on, is our operational framework. So, as earlier discussed, we integrate those theories to our controlled variables, which we will prove individually. So, for the type of term, we integrate transaction model of 3D because we're comparing modular students and non-modular students, which have different environments in themselves. So, second theory is the learning curve theory, which we integrate to the type of module. Since, as earlier discussed by Philip, the difference between the module 2 and the module 1 students. Lastly, gender, which has an underlying theory of differences in men and women perception of academic stress. So, these control variables will test them through our instrument, the perceived stress scale. This was made by Cohen, and it is the general, it is the generic instrument to measure stress. And as you see, our dependent variable is the changes in stress level. This indicates that we will test twice because our model specifies that PSS after minus PSS1, then we get dependent